I'm Geraint Edwards. I run and develop JEvents, amongst other things. And a little bit about myself. I started developing Joomla extensions back in 2005. In fact, I had been working on Mambo for about 3 months before the big split. And of course, the big decision then was, which way do you go? And if you only had 3 months knowledge of the project, which way did you go? And thankfully, I chose the right way. I don't know how many people remember Joomfish back in the day. Yes, it's now been taken over by Falang, the method, the technology behind it. So I was involved in that quite early on with Alex Kempkins, and developed all the coding required to allow translation and multi-table queries. Then got involved in JEvents. The reason I got involved in both of those is because my daughter's school is a bilingual, well, it's a Welsh language school, but we needed a bilingual English-Welsh website. And so I needed to translate events, needed to translate content, and so I ended up realizing that Joomfish needed enhancements, and there wasn't a multilingual events calendar. So that's how I got involved with JEvents and took on the project back in, 2005. So it's been a big part of my life. Easy Layouts is another thing I developed back the last 6 or 7 years. It's a layout editing tool. I don't know how many of you were in the presentation yesterday about Easy Layouts and YooTheme. It's an interesting way of controlling the layout of your content, and so you don't need to write template overrides. It basically allows you to use a drag and drop interface to control how your content is presented. And finally, Your Sites, which is a tool that you can use to manage client websites. So if you've got 30, 40, 100 websites, keeping track of which ones are up to date, if you want to install new modules on them, checking if they're up, getting reports of what their status and so forth is. You can basically install a component on one of your own servers, manage your client sites from that without giving all your private client details to an online service. So first thing to say is there's probably far too much to cover in this session. There's probably like 40 minutes of talking time and a couple of minutes of questions. Trying to go through everything that I had on the summary of the presentation is going to be a bit of a squeeze. So what I've done is summarized the main elements of JEvents, some of its features, the add-ons and things, and the ones I'm going to focus on I've put a little asterisk next to. Hopefully, first of all, how many people use JEvents or have used JEvents in the past? So yeah, most people. So for the people who've used it, hopefully you'll find out new things that you haven't seen before. People who haven't used it, it might give you a flavor of what JEvents can do. So JEvents consists of a calendar component with a choice of different views and themes. You can see events in a calendar and lists, upcoming event modules you can configure in any way that you want, really, in terms of which events you want to show. A filter module that can control which events are shown on your site. So if you have an event with various custom fields and so forth, you can have a module on there which filters what events are shown. And a custom module, a custom event and event list module, which might not be something that people would be familiar with. I'll come into that in a bit more detail later. We support repeating events and exceptions to those events, so you can create a series of events into the future, and if one of them lands on a public holiday, you can change the date of that or cancel that repeat. You can even have irregular repeats, events that happen at odd dates through time. You can also change, if a venue of one particular repeat is different to all the others, you can change that. We can track for overlapping events, so you can avoid clashing events in a particular category. So if you have a tennis event and you don't want more than one tennis event to occur at the same time, you get a warning if somebody tries to create an event that overlaps, the time overlaps with an existing event in a category or all over. We can customize the layouts. Again, I'll go through that and give you an example of that. We do front-end event management, so people who are authorized to edit, create, delete, publish events. There's an interface in the front end, or you can just add events directly from the calendar. And we have a choice of ACL approaches. I don't know how many other components do this, but we basically allow you to have user-specific permissions. So if you want certain individuals to have certain rights but not assign them to groups, you can do that. Or you can use a Joomla overall access control. The main difference between the way that we do it and other sites maybe is that you can choose whether the global permissions dominate the categories or whether the categories dominate the global. So you might want to have categories that don't behave like all the other categories in terms of permissions, or you could have a global setting that can override some of the categories. And it's all described in the settings when you get to that page. Add-ons, this is not a list of all the add-ons, and again the ones I'm going to try and give a quick insight to today are the ones with asterisks. We offer responsive themes, the themes that work better on mobile phones, that switch the layout based on the orientation or the size of your display. Event booking and ticketing, reminders and invitations. You can track attendance to see who's actually been to your events with QR codes, which can be scanned at the event. You can even say, people can even say they're going to come to an event or may be coming to an event or not coming to an event. So you can basically invite a series of attendees and basically work out who can come to your meeting and things. Event resources and people, that's an interesting one. I'm going to go through that in a bit more detail. Basically, it's all the other things that could be associated with an event other than a location. So you might have the organizer, the performers, musical performers, you might have the stewards on the door, you might have the people who are cleaning up after the event. You know, all those people can be associated with the event, as well as equipment. So you might have a video projector. You've only got one video projector, you need to track who's got the video projector. You can assign it to an event, and you can even look at blocking overlapping events that want to use the video projector, because you can only have one event at a time that uses the video projector. You can set agendas and minutes for events. So basically, an agenda appears before the event, and then after the event has occurred, you can write a minute of the event, and it's linked into the event, but the minutes don't appear until after the event for obvious reasons. New event notifications. You can set the notifications based on user groups, on various rules such as whether people are attending an event or whether they've invited to an event, or people can use a module to say, I'm interested in events that satisfy these criteria, and using a cron job, the event system will send a message to these people when new events match those criteria. A whole slew of custom fields, which we'll go through a bit later. Time limits, basically blocking events from being displayed that don't sit in certain time windows that you specify. We can have user-specific events and views, so you can display the events that you've created or a certain user has created. And we even have one custom field, and I'm jumping back to custom fields, where you can specify that you want to add it to your planner or your calendar, your personal calendar, and then when you go back, you can see a menu item that just shows the events that you're interested in attending. A slideshow module, matching events. Again, that's a useful one where you might want to show the secondary events that are associated with the events that you're looking at. So that could be linked to custom field values, to the category and so forth. So you can basically sort of cross-advertise the events in that way. We have content and editor plugins, featured events, so you can promote certain events in a different priority level to other events. And finally, we now have YooTheme elements and data sources available. Again, something I'm going to try and go through. So, what about JEvents and its add-ons? What's been said about it? Well, it's powerful, customizable, flexible, but I think it's fair to say that people tend to think it's got too many options. It can be overwhelming sometimes because there's so many things that you can do with it, so many add-ons, and it can be confusing sometimes. So I'm going to try and give a quick overview using the JEvents demo sites and an intro of what we're going to do with the YooTheme templates. Since time's tight, afterwards, if you want to talk about specific things, just come and find me. If I manage to get through it in time, anything that you want to try and explore in more detail, I'll try and go through then as well. So I'll go first of all through the JEvents add-ons and themes, and in doing that, it'll give you an idea of what JEvents can look like. Right, I need to switch the windows. It's very confusing because I don't see on my screen here what's on the screen up there, so I then have to move the mouse. Right, so first of all, we have a demo site which demos most of the features with different aspects highlighted in different types of demos. So we have an event registration demo which highlights the attendance, the invitations and the bookings and so forth. Activities demo, which is basically a fairly sophisticated site that does a lot of custom layouts and so forth, that is probably beyond what most people would want, but it shows how far you can get in terms of the layouts. And we have a conference layout for a website and an old, we need to take this off the website because we have a better way of doing floating events than that system now. So the themes, I'll go to the event calendar here. This is the, if I remember correctly, which one is this? This is the Flat Plus layout. So the normal JEvents layout, I'll show you the one that's not the responsive version here first. So the default layout that comes with JEvents is the flat one. And you see here that events like this Wednesday, first and third Wednesday, that is a 2-day event, but it appears in the calendar twice on the 2 separate days. And if I remember how to do the responsive layout, that's probably a bit narrow. Let's go for a no, that's not the best way to do it. I don't do this very often. Can somebody remember how you get the responsive layouts in Firefox? It's there, inspect. Oh, over here. There, yeah, there, yeah. I normally just resize my screen, but resizing the screen here is not going to help, is it? So, right, so you can see here the calendar just shrinks, and if you have, if you go to an even narrower phone, I don't know what's a narrow phone. Is that one narrower? No, that's wider. Basically, it can get very, very squished on a normal. Pardon? Oh, you can change the size. You can change the size. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So basically, it really doesn't work very well because this was a style basically that was developed quite a while ago, before the days of. Where are we going? Let's come out of that. Before the time we needed to worry about responsive layouts. But our responsive layouts, Flat Plus for example, behave quite differently. So the first thing you'll see is that the events span the days. So this 4-day event, because it's on a Saturday, that you can't span 2 rows obviously, but you see it here, it spans there. And if we do the responsive layout on this one, get rid of that, you can see it's switched to a list view. So I can show you that dynamically if I can grab that. So it's calendar, when it gets to a certain width, it switches to a list view, which makes it a bit more user-friendly. The other themes that we have are similar in many ways. They're just slight variations. The iconic theme. The main difference about the iconic theme is if we look at one of these events on a weekly basis, you have the date icon on the side. So hence the name iconic. And all of these can be customized. The color schemes can be customized. If I can find the right tab. That's not the right one. I need a new tab. it's hard to do it backwards. Right, okay. If I go here into the JEvents and into the configuration, I can look at the club theme options here and look at the what we were looking at. That was that's the iconic one. Let's change to the flat plus one. It's a bit more options on that. Basically, we can change the color scheme to whatever color scheme we want. Blue there, and if we save the settings, go back to here, change this to the flat plus. It's now switched to that blue layout. Some of the other ones allow you to do, like the iconic layout has a gradient, and you can customize the gradient on that. So they're customizable color schemes. Let's go back to the presentation. Yep. So those are all the club layouts. Have similar sort of behavior, just slightly different variations in the presentation. The float layout is one that is about more of a dynamic layout. So I need that one on. I'd change here to the float layout. And go to the float layout menu item. So here we now have a grid of cards, which is a masonry card, and they, as you scroll down, the list fills automatically. And so that's again responsive. And all this can be configured, so you can choose how many columns you want. So it goes to 1, 2, and so forth. And then something you guys might not have seen is the event timeline view. Has anybody seen the timeline view? Yeah, Phil has. I showed him on the bus, on the train rather. Basically, it's just a timeline of events, which in this case appear as you scroll down. This one is using the float layout. We have two of our layouts which are optimized for UIKit. This is one of them. So we have the flat plus and the flat UI, and we have the float and the float UI. So if you're using a YooTheme or another UIKit template, you can get this to behave in that sort of way with a UIKit theme as well. I should probably have done this next slide first, because it probably make more sense what I'm talking about if I had. Customizable layouts. Basically, most of the views can be heavily customized using fields from the core and from the add-ons. We can have conditional display, so conditional that I've had a condition in that the Y doesn't appear in the word display. I'll show you the layout editor in action just a second. It's framework agnostic. And by that I mean you can choose your own class names and basically create the layouts that you want to match the template framework that you're using. I'll show you how you do that customization in YooTheme in a minute. Right, find the right thing. And which tab do I want? Let's not worry about that one. Yeah, let's try that one. In the JEvents menu here, you have the custom layouts. Yeah, I've logged out. So it comes up preparing too early. So there's a whole load of layout types that you can have. The event detail page, a list row details that basically controls the layout of your list views, so like your yearly list or your category list of events. The calendar cell. So you saw the calendar grid. You can change what appears in each of those cells using the calendar cell layout and the pop-up that appears in your tooltip. So if I go back here, change back, if I can get to the bottom of the page in time. I change this to flat plus again. You wouldn't normally install the theme switcher, that's just for the demonstration. The tooltip is when you put the mouse over the event, you get a bit of a summary. So the content of that tooltip can be customized as well. So let's go back to here. The edit page can be customized. So you can have a completely bespoke event editing page. We normally have a fairly dynamic fields appear as you go event editing page. The float theme, this is how you would change what appears in the blocks that appeared as you were scrolling down the page. You'd edit that layout. If you're using a UI kit pop-up, you could have there's a specific layout for that as well. You can customize the latest events module here as well. And some missing translation strings on my development machine for editing the UI kit and the bootstrap blocks, and the timeline pop-up layouts there. The reason I talked about the pop-ups, I might not have shown you that. Is here we've just implemented a pop-up. It's not obligatory to use the pop-up, but basically there's a mechanism that allows you to get some basic detail about the event, and you can obviously then click through and see that event in detail when you click through. So again, this edit page, this detail page has been completely customized for what I actually wanted on that page using the layout editor. Let's see, what was this on? This is JEvents demo. I'll try and change that one so you can see what I mean. That one. And go to the layout editor. And here you can see that the event detail page has been customized. It might not look pretty. In fact, it's sometimes easier to look at it using the editor. But basically, it's a powerful mechanism for creating the layout you want on that page. It's not like YooTheme. It's not like even easy layouts in terms of it. But what you do have is the ability to insert the fields wherever you want. There's all the core fields, the image fields, custom fields, information about your location, personal event summary, whether you're coming or not to the event, manage people and resources, who's assigned to the event, and so forth. And it goes on. So if you had other plugins as well, they would all be insertable here. And there's a mechanism for displaying here. So the location street, is that big enough for people to see it, or do I need to make it bigger? Basically, we have a hash. Let's get rid of this here. That might make sense. So we have a descriptor of the field, the code that we use internally, and then a hash. And after the first hash is what gets displayed if there is a value in that field, and the value gets replaced by the %s. And if you wanted to do something different, you could put then if you did that, if there was no location associated with the event, then you'd get that piece displayed on the page. So that's how you can get conditional display of individual fields. You can use that to control class level settings. So if you take the value of a field like the location, for example, and you had a whole map block and addresses and things which you'd really fancy, but if an event doesn't have a location, you don't want any of that to appear, the way you do it is to set a hidden attribute or a hidden class name to that block of HTML, if that makes sense. Okay, so that's how you'd change the layout. As I said, it's framework agnostic. Right, something that you might not have seen is this underneath. Who's noticed the custom module creation underneath the edit page? Who's actually ever used it? Yeah, probably nobody. I'll show you what that means or what it does just now. No, wrong slide. Don't need that one. Yeah, okay. Let's go back here to the home page. Now we go to the activities demo. Yep. Up here, sorry. So this one, basically all it is like a showcase for all these different add-ons. If I look at the event detail for one of these events, like the Dartmoor cycling event, this block here on the right is the normal component area, but we might not want to show all the information in the component area. We might want to show some of the information in the module area for that event. So this is the custom module. And if we went into the custom layouts for the activities, no, that one. Getting a stiff neck doing this. Nope, not that one. Right. Haven't figured out yet why, but sometimes logging into this site takes a long, long time. I've never figured out why. I thought it was a sessions table or something, or clearing of cache. I've never figured it out. Something happens every now and again, and I don't know what it is. Try it on a local copy instead. I had the same problem on a local site as well. Has anybody ever seen this behavior? Yeah? It freezes for a long, long time, and then eventually you log in. Yeah, I've tried it on start it again. Yeah. This is Firefox, yeah, but it's something that happens in PHP. I've debugged it. I've gone through the debugger, and I can't see any activity that causes it to be slow. Right. Yeah, with specific sites though, on specific pages. So I don't know why. Right. Okay. I'll show you on a different one. Maybe it'll wake up in a minute. Where are we? The page layout. So basically, the way it works is you put an ID in here. So whatever you want as an ID. The key thing is the ID needs to be unique, and you get access to all the same fields here. So you can now create the content of a module with information from the event, and then what you do is, if we go back to Joomla, to the site modules, create a new one, and JEvents custom module. You'd basically just type in the ID. You know, I could look up values, but it's stored in a params field in another table. It's parsing the params just to get the ID is not really something I had the patience to do at the time. And basically, what all that does then is it goes off, picks the module layout from the layout, and then displays it next to your event. It also works for lists of events as well. Okay. Custom module, we talked about that. Bookings, reminders, and invitations. There's a lot I could show you on this. Hopefully just give you an introduction. Where are we? Find the right one. That one, yeah. Okay. It's not looking great yet. I have to confess. You never look after your own websites as well as others, do you? I was on the train coming down here and realized this site is still running the demo on Joomla 3.10. So I then on the train, tried to upgrade it, but it wasn't working properly. So I've done it on a local machine, but it's still not quite looking right. So this is a quick and dirty first cut into Joomla 4. Basically, again, this doesn't look very pretty. It can be made to look a lot prettier than this. This is an example of upcoming events with just information about who's attending it. You can either click the attend button or click through to the event. And information about the event, and you need to be logged in to attend the event. We've got some login details here. And excuse you. It wasn't right. Let's try that again. Oh. No, killed Firefox. Let's try that again. I'm going to have to pause the presentation momentarily, sorry. Okay. Is that there? Full screen. Okay, let's try. It's really stupid. I need to take Community Builder off this site. Why is that not working? Okay, I'll have to show you on the. No, there's two different users. Hang on, that's not what I meant to do. Yeah. Wrong one. Which one was it? Oh, I've killed it. Let's try again. Where are we? This one. Okay. Oh, user one. Yes, sorry, I'm being slow. Yes, you're right. I thought it was user one. Okay. What on earth is that one? That's a really helpful message, isn't it? Okay. Am I logged in? Yes, I'm logged in. Anyway, let's not worry about that for now. So go back to the event here. So now we see the registration form. So the registration form, I'll show you how you can customize them in a minute, has a lot of options available. Just put some details in, just some random address, phone number, and say that we want a meal. And the meal prices are different depending on if you want the 2-course or the 3-course meal. So you get an entry fee of 5 and the total is 45 because the meal is more expensive. If it's a 3-course or a 2-course, you could add a guest and provide extra information about the guest, and they want a 2-course meal, and you can see the price has gone up accordingly as well. And you then just click attend. It should then divert you to a summary of the payment, and it'll go automatically to PayPal, which I haven't got set up on the demo site. But basically it allows you to go to pay. We support quite a wide range of payment gateways. Let's find the presentation. Where's the keyboard? Right. Where are we? But yeah, here. Wrong way. There. Right. So choice of payment gateway. So we do PayPal and Stripe are probably the most commonly used ones, but there's Molly and ePay and a few other European ones. You could also use HickerShop for payment. So it basically adds a transaction to the gate the cart in Hickershop, and then it'll pay that way. We do capacity management and waiting lists. So you could see on that demo, if I go back, if I find the mouse, here we go. It says here number attending the event is 2, because we're counting people who haven't paid, and we are 2 people that have just, the guest and myself have signed, so we're 2 people that have signed for this event. And you can set a limit on the event, so 10 people can come to the event and have a waiting list of 2. And basically you can choose whether people are added to the capacity when they pay or when they first register and so forth. We can do ticketing and QR codes and email reminders before events. So it's probably worth showing you the editing of an event for that to make sense. I can't type with my head backwards. Oh, yeah. Yes, it just, you could just do admin, couldn't you? Yeah, it could just be on a redirect. No, it's not that one. Oh, this one here. No. Yeah, there we go. Okay, let's go to, if I can find my mouse again. There. So you get a summary of the sessions. You've got 1,600 of them in the future, a lot of events. We've got a summary of the upcoming events. There's only 2 of them that have any attendees, so we've got them. There's one happening at the end of September, and this is the one we were just looking at. And I'll show you how to edit one of those for a second. It's a repeating event. So yes, it's probably worth saying that you can book for a single event, or if you have a repeating event, you can book for the collection, the full series of the events in one transaction, or you can book for each of the separate events. So I don't know, if you're doing a lecture tour, a lecture series, or a series of lessons at a gym or something, you might want to sell access to all of them in one go. But if it's a cinema that's selling tickets for films, then you'd want to be able to sell for each separate repeat, if that makes sense. Right, social night is one we were looking at. You can see here, where are we? Oh, these are old ones. We don't need the old ones. Yeah, so we can see here, this is the event we were looking at. In the summary, it tells us there are 2 attendees and 2 of them have an outstanding balance. We can click through on it. And this is the person there. It shows their status as owing money. And if we were to click on that, you'd see the transactions. So if you have a payment gateway, it will give you information about whether the payments were successful or not. And this way you could also handle offline payments and so forth. That's not what I wanted to do. To create their own events, or oh yes, you can do by email. You can do by email as well. So yes, you can. Yes, that's a configuration option. So it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. It just doesn't have to be a user. And you've also got the option of creating a user during the registration process. So if I go back to the sessions, right, it's not what I wanted. And if I edit this event, actually let's get rid of, edit this one. So I'm now editing the main event of a repeating event. So whenever you're in JEvents, you get warned if you're editing either an event or repeat it. It gives you a warning to basically make sure that you realize that you're editing a specific instance or the whole thing. The attendance options here, we can say whether or not we're allowing attendance registration. The event can be public, but the registration only for logged in users, which is what we have by default. But you can basically, in this case, we have extra committees. So we can have committee meetings. So you can have private events on your site. Set the capacity here. This particular site hasn't been set up for a waiting list. But if we had waiting lists enabled on the demo, there's an extra field in there to say how many people can be on the waiting list. Extra fields is a custom field template, in this case called tickets. I'll show you how to edit that in a minute. You've then got the option of whether attendees can cancel their own attendance or not, whether they can make changes to their attendance, and whether you want to, as I was saying, whether you want to record their attendance for the event as a whole, all the repeats together, or each repeat separately. And whether you want to show the list of attendees, yes, no, or only to attendees. So you can basically, people who are attending the meeting can find out who else is going, but only after they've signed up, or, the default is no, and only then the people who manage the events can see the attendees. There's a load of other configuration options available. In this case, we've got reminders not available, but you can basically send reminders out once before the start for every single repeat, or when a reminder is requested. And you can choose how much in advance of the event the reminder is sent. You can customize the message that's sent out with the reminder there. If we were enabling, I'm not going to enable because this is the live. Oh, it's not the live. I can enable that. If I go to not JEvents, I want. If I find the mouse, RSVP Pro configuration. Invitations. I can enable invitations. You can change the default setting for events to only show the events to invitees. So you can have private events that only people invited to events can be displayed, and whether or not invitations are set up by default. Various messages can be set up, who can be invited, and so forth. So now if we were to save that and go back into the event, change that back to all events or separate. Social event, this one was the one we were looking at. And now we have the invitation options available. And again, invitations for individual repeats or the whole thing. If you have that, there's a whole mechanism for adding repeats, but we haven't, invitations rather, we probably haven't got the time to go through all of that. Where are we? How are we doing on time? 25 past. Probably should press on. So invitations, yes, you can send invitations to individual users or to groups of users by access codes, access levels in Joomla, or by social groups. So Community Builder or Jom Social, if you have groups of users, you can send invitations to a batch of users. If you create an individual list, you can save that list so you can reuse it at a later date as well. Right, go on. Locations. We can set up event locations or venues with maps and directions. We can set custom fields and layouts for those. And the location managers can control the usage. So what that means is, let's say you have a website with events at bars in Hamburg. Then you can give each of the bar managers a login access to create events, but only they would be able to assign their particular bar to an event. Nobody else would be able to basically book an event at that bar. And you can check for specific double booking. So you can basically say there's no two events that can happen at the same venue at the same time. And we can filter by location or proximity. I'll just show you that quickly on the demo site. Find the right demo. This one. location list. Oh, that's because I've got the float view. It doesn't work well with the float view, just because of the way I've got my custom layout set up. Go back to the location list. So here we have a grid type presentation of the events. The Royal Opera House, Chester Zoo and the Bronx Zoo, summary of the events coming up, links to them, which country it is. Basically these are links to the filter, so you can basically get to those. Again, this can be controlled by the layout editor. You can choose what you display in these fields yourself. And if I show you the event search, I can basically, where's the filter? Here. I can, stop. I can filter by specific venue. Needs to be optimized. So that's only showing events that are happening at Chester Zoo. We have also a geo filter type lookup, so you can basically say I want events happening within 3 miles of my location and so forth. All right, where are we next? Event resources and people, I touched on that before. Basically, it behaves similarly to the managed locations in that you assign a location or you assign a person to an event, but it's not just people, it's resources as well. It's equipment and basically anything that you want to associate with an event, volunteers and so forth. You can link these entities to Joomla users, and you can customize the types of them. So I'm not telling you can only have performers and event organizers. You can create whatever types you want and say if they have addresses associated with them, choose which custom fields they have, whether they're linked to users and so forth. You can filter events on them. So basically all the events that have a video projector, you could show the events that have a video projector and so forth, as if you'd want to do that. Another one probably nobody in this room has used is self-assignment of people to events. Basically, if you have, for example, a church or a synagogue or whatever that needs volunteers, somebody who stewards the doors or arranges the flowers or cleans up after an event, you might need a certain number of people volunteering for these roles. If they're logged into your website and they view the site, these events, they'll get a prompt to say, do you want to volunteer for these roles? You select the drop down and then they're assigned as the person for that role. Again, it doesn't have to be public, so you can show that the event has a door steward but not tell the world who that door steward is unless you're the event organizer. The other one, an interesting one, is there's a few small fire brigades, fire stations in the States, which use this system for rostering their staff. So they need 3 people on duty in every 12-hour period for call out on their single fire engine, which doesn't get called very often. So they have a roster and people sign up for their events using this system. Custom fields. Looking back, I probably should have put this slide a bit earlier. We have a wide range of custom fields with event-related permissions. So we don't use Joomla custom fields, partly because they didn't exist when we started them, but also because they don't have the same sort of permissions and configuration options that you need for events. So what we now do is you can use Joomla custom fields within JEvents, but we wrap them in our own, presentation. I better hurry up. I have to show you the YooTheme thing quickly. Right, because that was one of the things I wanted to do. Where are we? I've started to recreate the YooTheme demo site, the JEvents demo site rather, using our new YooTheme plugin. We provide now a data source, a custom data source. So this is a YooTheme page, and it's picking up the source, and I'm using our grid tool to create this presentation of our events, which I'm sure you think probably looks a bit better than some of the other things I was showing you earlier on, which is one of the benefits of working with YooTheme. It's actually very quick and easy to do that. And I had to confess, I got to here yesterday and thought, oh, I didn't copy this demo site from my development server to here, so I had to recreate this morning. So it doesn't take too long to do it. This is a normal JEvents menu, and the events are selected based on the menu criteria. Again, a scrolling, repeating display. So you've got two options. One is for your data source, either the events that are selected by the menu item you're viewing or by a specific module. So if you want to set up a specific complex set of rules about which events to show, you can use a JEvents module to decide which events to show. And that feeds through to the YooTheme options. So, any questions? Yes?
I saw that there's a possibility to export the data from the events.
Yes.
Is there a possibility to
Import, yes. You can import iCal events. So if you have your event calendar from Google or from another calendaring system, you can. CSV, yes, I'm pretty certain we've had a CSV already imported. There's a separate tool on the website for doing that. One of the problems is that if you have lots of custom fields and add-ons and things, getting all that stuff in. But if you just have simple events, yes, you can just import them as a CSV. And you can export as a CSV as well, which is a useful thing to have. Oh, we have, yes, we've got some pieces of a calendar element sorted out already. Some of the bits that you want for displaying, like the date icon and things. So this date icon, which needs a little bit more, the date piece there needs a bit of work. The whole thing, yes, we're working on that. So this is basically the first step, getting the data in and getting the ability to arrange it in your page, yes, and then ultimately being able to edit and create events within YooTheme would be good as well. Anything else? Yep, sorry, I should have watched the time. It would have been better to have a bit more time to talk about that at the end. I could have shown you how it's done. The behavior is just like other YooTheme elements. You just get but the list of fields is a lot longer than normal because we support so many fields. So, oh, and you can also pick up some of the layouts we have are quite complicated. So you can just import those directly into a YooTheme layout as well. So you don't have to create all the minutiae of the detail using YooTheme's interface. You can create one using HTML and it'll pick it in directly. So thank you for your time. Sorry for overrunning.